Welcome to Supplier Connections in for Small Business webinar. As you hopefully saw in our invitation, LinkedIn has said that this year is the year of the social small business, and we really couldn't agree more. So our Supplier Connection team created this webinar to provide you with resources and tips to be successful on LinkedIn. And the panel of experts that we've gathered today will share tips and best practices for engaging on LinkedIn and really making the most of your online and offline interactions. So let's take a look at our panelists. First up today, you'll hear from Donna Serdula. Donna is the founder of LinkedInMakeover.com and the author of LinkedIn Makeover: Professional Secrets to a Powerful LinkedIn Profile. She is the foremost expert in LinkedIn profile optimization, and through her site, she helps individuals from around the world brand themselves successfully using LinkedIn. Next up, you'll hear from Michael Nagel, and he's the Executive Director of Business Development at And Agency, and they are a small business member of Supplier Connections. Michael is a solutions-based marketing professional, and he's acquired a solid reputation for effective networking and alliance building both on and offline. And next you'll hear from Mary McFarlane, and she's the CEO and group founder of LinkedIn Chicago. So in 2006, after returning from a European assignment, Mary realized that she no longer had a network and created LinkedIn Chicago, which at the time was a Yahoo Group listserv with 100 members. And in 2007, Mary moved the group over to LinkedIn and has since grown it to more than 90,000 active members. So those are the three panelists that you'll hear from today. And before we get started, Katie Brownlee, the Supplier Connection Program Manager, is going to share a little bit about Supplier Connection. And just one other housekeeping note, we are tweeting from @SupplierCon today. And if you're tweeting along with us or looking for the tweets, we're using the hashtag ConnectBiz. So Katie, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thanks Megan. I am going to pause just quickly. I know we have some folks over in the Smart Cloud having issues with audio. Again, if you'd like to dial in to listen, it's 888-455-9729, passcode LinkedIn, and I've put that in the chat. So those in the chat can pass that on to the others having issues. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am the program manager for Supplier Connection, which is the group that's putting on this LinkedIn webinar for you today. We are a consortium of 25 major corporations led by IBM, and we are found at www.supplier-connection.net. But what we are is business-to-business matchmaking, trying to connect small businesses in the U.S. with large corporations in their corporate supply chain. So those of my 25 members, which include companies like AT&T, UPS, Pfizer, Facebook, et cetera. You can go on our website to see our full list of partners. The idea came about when trying to figure out how to help the economy, how large corporations can help spur job growth in the U.S. And we know that small businesses, those defined under 50 million or 500 employees, are the most entrepreneurial in spirit, drive the most job growth, will have the most technical growth rate. If we could ask everyone to go on mute, please, that would help. And with that in mind, we created Supplier Connection. So it's a profile where you can come and put in your attributes about your business. It's a 200 data point profile. And then you're searchable by our 25 corporate members. And last year we made connections with well over 100 of those small businesses, connecting them into the corporate supply chain. And we know that we actively spent $1.5 billion with the members of Supplier Connection. So meaning contracts were handed over and money was exchanged to the tune of $1.5 billion across my 25 corporate members and the approximately 2,500 small businesses in Supplier Connection. So if you haven't been to Supplier Connection, I know some of you may have come to this webinar from a different channel, go over and check it out. So we wanted to make sure that you were comfortable with that. And without further ado, I'll give you over to the experts that you want to hear from today on LinkedIn. And first up is Ms. Donna. So Donna.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the 5 tips to maximize your impact and results on LinkedIn. My name is Donna Serdula, and I'm the author of the book, LinkedIn Makeover, Professional Secrets to a Powerful LinkedIn Profile. And if you'd like to learn more about me, my book, or my company, you can certainly visit us at linkedin-makeover.com. Next slide, please. And so I don't know about all of you, but I joined LinkedIn back on November 28th, 2005. I actually kind of remember the day. I had received an invite from someone, and they said, join LinkedIn, you're going to get tons of opportunity by just posting up a profile. And sure enough, I did. I opened up LinkedIn, I joined, and I was confronted with what looked a little bit like a resume. It was the profile page. Didn't really know what to do, so I started copying and pasting my extremely out-of-date, dull, and boring resume into my LinkedIn profile. And I sat back and I waited. I was looking forward to all this opportunity that LinkedIn had promised. Click to the next slide for me. And I waited, but I got to tell you, nothing really happened for me back then on that date in 2005, and I pretty much dismissed it as a waste of time. And my account just sat inactive for a number of years. But then it was a few years later that I realized the power of my LinkedIn profile, and I wanted to tell you that story so you can see how this could affect you. But back then, I was heading up the Philadelphia office for a technology company. Next slide, please. And my days were spent filling my sales funnel through cold calling and trying to close business. Those are two pictures of me at a trade show. And you know, I was trying to close business, and my view of LinkedIn changed this one late afternoon when I connected with a prospect, and I had been making just hundreds of phone calls trying to find, business. And I remember with this prospect, we had this great conversation. I was able to schedule a meeting, and I was so excited. I remember hanging up the phone, and the first thing I did is I wanted to learn everything I could about this prospect. And I opened up Google to perform a search on his name. And as soon as I hit the search button, I had this feeling of dread just came over me, because I knew at this exact moment that this prospect wanted to probably learn as much about me as I wanted to learn about him, and he was probably Googling my name too. And I had no idea what he might find. And so I immediately charted a new course, and I decided to Google my name. And my LinkedIn profile was the only pertinent result in the small handful of sites that Google returned. And do you know what it looked like? Next slide. It looked like my resume, that out-of-date, dull and boring resume that I had copied and pasted in a few years back. And looking at it through the eyes of my potential client, I was horrified. My profile was half filled out, and I realized that my prospect would probably think that I don't finish things that I start. My profile was just plagiarized from my resume, and I'm sure he was thinking that I lacked creativity and energy. And I didn't bother getting a single recommendation from a client. I didn't join any groups or list any associations. He probably thought I was just a novice and not an expert in my field. And my honors and awards section was totally blank. And upon this, I realized that my LinkedIn profile did not portray me as a top-notch professional. It just didn't sell my skills or show any differentiation between me and all the other people out there on LinkedIn. And I realized that this was a huge fail, and I needed to correct it. My LinkedIn profile needed to stand out from the crowd. And so I started working at revamping and optimizing my LinkedIn profile until I had something that was compelling, that showcased my skills and marketed me as an expert in my field. Once I had done that, I noticed that my meetings with prospects began going smoother. It was like they already knew me. And prior to this makeover, I really had to work hard to build their confidence. But after the makeover, prospects just seemed to form a rapport with me before I even walked through the door, and that was because they were researching me. Within a year, I took my new sales territory from 0 to 3.4 million. And I truly say that LinkedIn played a huge role in that. And I decided to embark upon my dream of starting my own business. And now, if you can click to the next slide, I have a team of writers, and we help people write LinkedIn profiles. We really help clients from all over the world just create a very dynamic presence on LinkedIn. And so with that, let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about LinkedIn, all right? The average income of a LinkedIn user is $110,000. The main age of a LinkedIn user is between 35 to 54, and 48% of the LinkedIn members are in a decision-making role. LinkedIn is truly a professional network. This is not Facebook. This isn't Twitter, all right? This is a truly business social network. Let's hit the next page. And so with that, I'm going to give you the 5 tips to crank up your impact and results on LinkedIn. So if you don't, get out your pen and paper now and start taking notes, because by the end of this 20-minute presentation, you're going to have some great action items that you can do immediately to really see your use of LinkedIn improve. Next slide. So the very first thing that I want you to do is optimize. I want you to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Next screen. So when we look at LinkedIn profiles, we typically see 2 different types of profiles. We have the one on the left, which is very much like the way my LinkedIn profile had looked all those years ago. It was just a copy and paste of my resume. But if we look at the one on the right, this one is very much more impressive. And this is an optimized profile. This is a profile that's really going to get people's attention. So let's talk about why that is. Next slide. The first thing is there's the professional headshot. And I can't stress it enough. You really need to have a good-looking professional headshot of you on your LinkedIn profile. Don't go with a wedding photo. We want definitely one that casts you in the right light, because people are researching you and you want to make sure that you look good. Number 2 is the compelling headline. You want to make sure that your headline is interesting and it's engaging and it brings people to want to read more about you. We also have complete experiences that are keyword optimized, all right? So it's not enough to just have your current position, but you really do want to showcase your career trajectory and where you are and really show your background. The other thing is an optimized profile has a lot of connections. This one has over 500. Number 5 is contact information. You want to make sure that you definitely put in how people can contact you. One of the biggest issues that I see is people don't put in their phone number. They don't put in their email address. They don't put in their instant messenger. And so opportunity can't knock if it doesn't know which door to knock on. So absolutely make sure that you're including your contact information. And then also there's your summary, and it's important to have a really interesting summary. You don't want to just copy and paste your resume. You know, your resume is your professional past. It's what you did. I want you to think of your LinkedIn profile as a sales tool, as your career future. This is your introduction. This is your elevator pitch. It's really your professional manifesto, and it should explain who you are, what you and your company does, and the benefits that people will get from working with you. And lastly, there's a clear call to action at the very end of your summary so people know how to reach out to you. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, when I talk about the headline, a lot of people, scratch their head and they don't know exactly what to do. But what I am going to do for everyone who's joined this call is I want to give you access to my LinkedIn headline generator. It is an ebook that if you visit linkedin-makeover.com today, you can download free, totally free, and in five steps you can get a headline that is really interesting, that truly separates you from all the other users, and helps you actually optimize your profile for search as well. So I welcome you to join to download it today. It's linkedin-makeover.com. Let's go to the next slide. So in terms of optimizing, I want you to use a professional photograph. I want you to include your contact information. I don't want you to copy and paste your resume, and I want you to check out my free resources, one of which is the headline generator, and it's available on my website, linkedin-makeover.com. Let's go to the next. So number 2, The second thing I would like for you guys to do is create a company page. All right, most people think of LinkedIn and they think in terms of the personal page, but there is also the company pages, and they're very important. So let's move on to the next screen and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Now, the company page, it's a centralized location where millions of LinkedIn members can go to stay in the loop on your company news and your business opportunities and job openings that your company might have. It's a place where you can tell your company's story and you can engage with followers and you can really drive word of mouth at a much larger scale. With the company page, it's based strictly upon your company. So it's not like it's a person, a personal profile that you've just put your company page in the name field. Not at all. This is truly a profile on your company. Let's go to the next page. So one of the things that when you have an optimized LinkedIn company page, what it allows is all of your employees, when they choose to edit their own LinkedIn profile, they can actually go in and cite the company that they work for, and then you can have your logo on all of your employees' LinkedIn pages, which is great. It allows everyone to then be able to click and learn more about your company. You're also able to create status updates under your company as opposed to under your own individual name. And it's a way of also having people able to research and learn more about your company. So those are some of the reasons for the LinkedIn company page. Let's move on to the next slide. So number one was optimize. Number two was create a company page. Number three is I want you to build and use your network. Let's move on to the next screen. If you think of LinkedIn, it's very much like the old Rolodex of years ago. And click to your next slide, please. An empty Rolodex is useless, right? So in order for you to really find benefit on LinkedIn, you need to connect. And this is really the big downfall that I see with a lot of users connect, and because they're connecting, they're really not seeing any true benefit from LinkedIn. Let's move to the next screen. So what does connecting on LinkedIn mean? When you connect on LinkedIn, you're bringing that person into your first-degree network. And when they're a part of your first-degree network, they can see potentially all of your other first-degree connections, and you can see their first-degree connections. You can also see their activity on LinkedIn, and you can see theirs as well. So if you post any articles or if you make any changes to your profile, these are things that can be seen. You can make introductions to people, and you can ask that person for an introduction to a shared connection. You can also give them recommendations, and they can give you recommendations, and you can endorse them for skills, and they can endorse you for skills. So when you connect with someone on LinkedIn, this is what you're able to do after that. Let's move on to the next slide. So who should you be connecting with? You should absolutely connect with family and friends and old schoolmates. Look into your past and connect with old colleagues and even your current colleagues. And don't be afraid to connect with employers or even recruiters, past customers, and people that you meet along the way. And if you see the word line up there, that's not a typo. You can even connect with open networkers. Open networkers are people who will connect with anyone, even if they don't know you. So you don't even have to necessarily be shy and say, If you choose to connect with a lion, they're more than willing to connect with you even if they don't know you. Let's hit the next slide. And so let's talk more about the LinkedIn network, because the LinkedIn network is really the backbone of LinkedIn, and it's one of the things that I think people find very, very confusing, because we are always saying use that network, leverage your LinkedIn network, but what does that mean? So let's hit the next slide. And I find that when we talk about the LinkedIn network, it makes it easier if we think in terms of Kevin Bacon. I don't know how old you guys are on the phone, but perhaps you remember the old 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game. But if we think about it in this way, the LinkedIn network extends 3 degrees out. So if Kevin Bacon was to invite John into his first-degree network, he would send him an invite, John would accept it, and then they would suddenly become first-degree connections. And then anyone that John knows that Kevin doesn't, those people would be his second degree. And then with Mary, Mary would be Kevin's second degree, and if whoever she knows that John doesn't know and Kevin doesn't know, that would become the third degree. All right? And the thing to recognize here is if John or Mary is searching for, let's say, an 80s actor on LinkedIn, and they're using the LinkedIn search to do so, Kevin Bacon would come up. If John searched for an 80s actor, Kevin Bacon would come up if Mary did or if Joe did. However, if you see Audra out there, she's a fourth degree, so she's not in the LinkedIn network. If she searches for that 80s actor, unfortunately, Kevin Bacon would not come up, because when you search within LinkedIn, you're really searching just within your own LinkedIn network. And so that's something to keep in mind, and one of the reasons why it makes sense to connect with as many people as you can, people that you know and you've trusted and you've met along the way. But don't be shy. Don't just not connect because you just don't feel really great about them. Connect because it's not just who you know, but who they know and who they know. Let's move on to the next slide. So, in fact, this slide, with my great artistic rendering of Kevin Bacon, showcases just how exponential the growth of the LinkedIn network is by simply adding 2 first-degree connections. Look how big that LinkedIn network can become with all the second- and third-degree connections that are then added. Let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit more about the search feature. When you search on LinkedIn, again, you are searching your LinkedIn network. These are your first, second, third-degree connections and all of the people within the groups that you've also joined. Let's hit the next button. And when you do search, they are searching for within that network. So let's say we decided to search for a particular person. We'll search for the President of the United States, and we find his profile. If you look to the right of his name, you'll see it's a second degree. And when you see that it's a second-degree connection, you can actually go to the right-hand side and see how you are connected to that person. And so one of the real big, powerful parts of the whole LinkedIn network, it really shows how makes invisible relationships visible. All right, so how would you have known that DR is that connector for you and the President of the United States? So this is a great way of really trying to find those inside connections. So let's move on to the next slide. And with that said, I invite you all to connect with me on LinkedIn. Even though we might not know or trust each other all that well, I still say if you're listening to this webcast, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd love to share my network with you. Let's move on to the next slide. So number 4 is share your status updates. All right, and this is something a lot of people don't even think about with LinkedIn. They think in terms of their network, they think in terms of their profile, but really LinkedIn is very much like Facebook and Twitter in that you're able to share status updates with your network. And so what are the types of things that you want to share on LinkedIn? Let's hit the next button. The things that you're going to want to share would be interesting links to articles, to events that you've attended. You want to, really post things that people within your network would find interesting. And why would you be posting? Well, in a way, this is very much like drip feed marketing, right? It's a way of staying top of the mind aware. And it's not one of those things where you're drowning people in email. No, this is more of a situation where when a person comes onto LinkedIn and they look at their homepage, they can just sort of scroll down and read these things. It's almost like a newspaper that's been curated by all of the people within your network, and you're able to not only post along with them, but you're also able to listen to what they're saying, and you're able to interact by liking and commenting and sharing the items that they themselves are sharing on LinkedIn. Let's move on to the next slide. So things to share, I would absolutely suggest expert advice, links to compelling articles. You can do upcoming events. If you have any business ventures or if you know of any jobs, you can even post questions or requests for information. I would highly recommend not sharing pictures of kittens or vacation slides or even kids playing soccer. LinkedIn is truly a professional network, and so you really do want to stay on the professional side of things. Let's move on to the next slide. And so number 5 is I want you to stay positive with LinkedIn, and I want you to have fun with it. You know, when you think about it, with LinkedIn, it's not so much what can LinkedIn just give you, because a lot of people think, all right, come on, opportunity, hit me, I'm ready for it. You know, how many leads can I get? How many sales can I make? But truthfully, what I've found is with LinkedIn, when you get on it and you really try to help people and you try to educate and you try to inspire and you add value, you recommend people and you endorse people and you post really good educational information and you try to act as a connector and you just do good on LinkedIn, that's when you're then going to start seeing that opportunity. The opportunity doesn't just fly automatically, but you need to sort of get in there and start having fun and staying positive. And when you do that, that's when you're really going to find opportunity hitting you. Let's move on to the next slide. And so in review, I want you to optimize your profile. And I know it's really difficult to do that. Like I said, if you visit linkedin-makeover.com, I have tons of free resources that you can download to use to help you optimize your profile. I think it's important to create a company page, especially when you have employees. This is going to allow them to then link to your company page on their profiles, and it really gives you much far greater reach. I want you to build and use your network. Recognize that your LinkedIn network is built upon 3 degrees of separation, and that when you connect with people, you're not just connecting with them, but you're connecting with their network and their network's network. This is a way of getting found. This is a way of really being able to leverage your network to find these invisible connections that you probably didn't even know were there. I want you to share your status updates. You know, really make sure that when you're posting stuff, you're also going in there and commenting on what other people are saying. It's a great way of marketing yourself and staying top of the mind in people's world. So, you know, when they do need you, they know how to reach out and get a hold of you. And lastly, have fun with LinkedIn. It really is a great social network, and it really delivers a lot of opportunity. But you really do need to first look at it more in terms of how you can give rather than how can you receive. With that said, let's move on to the very final slide. And I request that you all connect with me. I'd love to receive invites from all of you. I would love to have you join my LinkedIn network. I ask you to download my LinkedIn headline generator. And lastly, if you'd like to work with me, visit my website. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Donna.
Hello, Katie, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Mike. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Katie, Alicia, Megan, for the opportunity to speak on this topic. My name is Michael Nagel, and I'm with a creative marketing firm called And Agency, located in the suburbs of Chicago. A little bit of background on myself. I've been in the sales business development role for about 10+ years in both the B2B and finance sectors, and over about a year ago, I was given the opportunity to join a growing marketing firm called And Agency. Here at And Agency, we're a creative firm offering ideas and innovative solutions to help businesses maximize marketing efficiency. In addition to our traditional services, print, video, channel, and sales enablement, we also work with a lot of different things, including digital, multimedia, and social. So what I'm going to speak about is from a small business viewpoint and give some networking tips on how I use LinkedIn and tie both online and offline networking together to create new business and grow relationships. So next slide. Okay, so a lot on this first slide was just covered by Donna, so I'll be very brief on this portion and kind of back up a lot of the information that she said. First thing, when updating your company's page status, make sure to include relative and useful information regarding your industry. If it's an article that can offer advice from a trusted resource and serves a purpose, feel free to use it. Don't share personal posts or informal information. It really shows a lack of professional, like when Donna spoke about the pictures of the kittens and different things like that. You really got to understand your page analytics, and you'll see who your content is attracting and how they're interacting. Now, once you've done your research and reviewed your page metrics, you can better tailor your information to the people you want to connect with. For example, if a video post receive more engaged update, make sure to include more video posts in the future or vice versa. And the last piece here is make sure you audit your page to make sure you keep fresh information and contact information current. And if a new client does reach out to you, as Donna mentioned, make sure that their request is handled in a timely manner. Next slide. Okay, going into the LinkedIn networking. Where do I start and how did I start? And being with a growing marketing firm, you really don't have lines and lines or lists and lists of people that are looking to give you money or give you business. And so you really have to find your niche or what kind of works for you. And so working with LinkedIn has become an extremely effective tool that I've used both on the online and offline ways to kind of help grow my network. And so where I begin, I like to define my target audience, whether it's picking a company or an industry, and focus in on it. I like to know what new trends there are, product rollouts, and be knowledgeable of that particular vertical so I can understand, the willingness to, grab those new connections for them. As Mary is going to talk about on her presentation after mine, becoming members of groups and affiliations that you can connect with to help target an audience, whether it's schools, alumni groups, or location-based, are extremely important and effective, and I've definitely seen big boosts in my network by using those. The last thing which I like to do as well, if you're looking to target those bigger corporations or those bigger groups, expand your reach within that larger company. If a person that you're trying to reach out to sees that you might have 20 connections with other people at AT&T that they're already friends with as well, the likelihood of them connecting with you is higher. So if you're targeting that one VP or marketing director, make sure that you're not just targeting that one person, but you're targeting a lot of their friends that are out there as well that maybe might be able to influence, a potential relationship. Next slide. So starting out with LinkedIn, I want to kind of talk about a few stumbling blocks and I'm kind of reaching out and initial goals that I have with my LinkedIn requests. A lot of things with impersonal connecting, it may get you a connection, but not necessarily business. If you're looking to target somebody, I don't reach out to them with your standard, we've done business together, I'd like to invite you to my LinkedIn. And so you really, pretending to know somebody with generic messaging and your standard info shows that you put little or no effort into connecting with them. Prove that you're worth connecting with by adding some value and some information there. I like to try to be creative and do my research. Try to get them to accept your LinkedIn request, and don't sell them the world in that intro. They probably don't know you. And so getting past the invite is really what I'm looking to do, because you only have, in the invitation, there's a character limit of 300 characters. So I focus on being creative, short and sweet, so I become their LinkedIn contact. And from there, I can do LinkedIn messaging, emails, or in-person meetings to move that relationship along. So I really try to focus on not selling them the world, but just becoming, a LinkedIn connection, and then I can go from there. Next slide. Next is some quick LinkedIn, have definitely helped me along the way. First thing I'm going to talk about is recommendations are not always fitting. So be selective when giving that out. What I mean by that is don't throw recommendations to everybody and anybody just because they ask you to. If you met them a week ago and don't know them that well and they're asking for a recommendation, that might reflect negatively on you. So know who you're recommending and why you're recommending them. Next piece is 500 connections. Spend time on getting your name out there. if you have 87 people in your network and 19 are from your current company that you're with, it really shows that you're not putting a lot of time and effort on LinkedIn and expanding your network. So getting to that 500 plus just seems to others that you're well connected, well respected, better knowledgeable in a field. So that's one piece that I've really found, that getting there, I look at other people's 500 plus that they're really trying and getting their information out there. Once they accepted your LinkedIn connection, I always finish with my contact information. Like Donna mentioned, in every message that I send on a LinkedIn message, I make sure to include all of my important information, my cell phone, my email, my website. So it's always there and they can reference that whenever needed. Special occasion emails, I think, are huge. You get an email from LinkedIn pretty much every day with your connections that have a job anniversary, a birthday, a job change, all of that. What I do is every day I'm going to reach out to all of them saying, congrats on your 10-year anniversary at XYZ company. Happy birthday. Along those lines, to keep it as a non-sales kind of atmosphere and just show them that I see them, I recognize them, and I'm kind of putting some time and trust into that kind of relationship. So last thing is be proud of your page and content. You can spend all the time in the world networking, but as Donna mentioned, make sure that page, your content, your information really reflects well on you. Next slide. So that was more of the online tips, but there's also the live events. And so there are hundreds of networking groups in Chicago, and thousands of people meet at these live events on a weekly and monthly basis. I go to probably anywhere from 5 to 10 events a month, so maybe about twice a week. There are groups on particular industries, to social groups, to specific areas, or digital, social, small business. Join a few of them. See which ones work for you. Go to the ones that you really like a lot, but just make sure that you're going to a wide range of groups. You'll see a few of the people at all of them, but mixing it up will ensure a wide net of potential meetings. I also see at a lot of these events, I like to go by myself, or if I go with a team member, make sure that we have a plan. I visit a lot of events and I see groups and people that work together sitting in corners and chatting with themselves and their coworkers. If you're at a networking event, network. Go there, have a plan, and make sure you're maximizing every event. I like to listen first. If there's a couple hundred people in the room and you're trying to meet as many people as possible, everybody's going to give you their 1-minute sales pitch. I like to listen first to what people are talking about, to try to get them to tell you what they do and why they do it, and then I can kind of cater my 1-minute speech towards them on what content they gave me. If you don't get their business card, reach out to them via LinkedIn while you're at the event. If you don't have the LinkedIn app for smartphones, download it right now. You'll be able to connect with people at live events and online simultaneously. Next slide. Some other small tips on the live events. Some of the things that I like to do is I like to talk with as many people as I can, no matter on their industry, their job, anything all the way across the board. There are going to be a lot of people in similar industries or fields that you don't want or need business from. But I always listen. I'm always courteous because you never know who they know or some of their contacts or connections are. I always try to help others at events. And Donna mentioned a little bit earlier trying to help others. If there's a couple hundred people at the event, you're probably only going to talk to 20 to 50, depending on how long the event is. If you meet 2 people at the event that you think would work well together, make that intro. They'll remember it, and hopefully do the same for you down the road. When I leave the event, I always write down a couple things that stood out to each person, whether they had red shoes on, they had an interesting project they were working on, if they drank Miller Lite at the event, anything to make them stand out and make sure that I remembered them in particular. I get there early and stay late. What I mean by that is if the event is from 5 to 7 and there's a couple hundred people there, it can be very busy at that particular time and very loud. So if you get there about 15 minutes early, you can have a more intimate conversation with a guest or talk to sponsors at the event or speakers that may be setting up or waiting for the crowd. Last piece is find networking all-stars to partner up with. After going to events, let's call it for 6 months or a year, you're going to see a lot of the same people that are very outgoing and at a lot of the different events. I like to partner up with them because there's only so many groups or outings or events you can go to. So what I do is I have a group of about 5 to 10 people that I share my contacts and stories with that I think may help each other, and I've gained a lot of business that way by making sure that I'm giving them business or contacts and they're doing the same for me. Next slide. Now, what I do in combining both the LinkedIn online and the offline events is if I collect 30 business cards, I always reach out the next morning when their face or their conversation is the most familiar. I'm going to use those notes that I took on the back of the business cards in that LinkedIn invitation to show people that I remember, that I appreciate them, and I make sure to use those 300 characters that I'm allowed in the LinkedIn invitation. Your goal is not the accepted invitation, it's a purchase, and it takes time and steps. Once you have the invite, it's not over. You've got to message them, email them, phone call to get that in-person meeting and the presentation. And a lot of the times with those great contacts, I have their business card, so I can give them a handwritten message or send them a small gift to really show them I appreciate their conversation. And again, follow-up. Timing is everything, and you want to be on top of mind when something does change on their mind. They're not going to change their current vendor no matter what they do because you reached out to them once on LinkedIn 6 months ago. You have to make sure that you're staying on top of mind, that you're sending them emails and updates consistently. Next slide. That's all I have. Thank you very much, for paying attention to my portion here. Again, I'm Michael Nagel from And Agency, and if I can help on any creative marketing services all the way across the board, please give me a call, email, or reach out to me on LinkedIn. Next up is Mary, and she's going to talk about her LinkedIn groups. So, Mary, take it away.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to talk about today is how to extend your reach locally and by industry using LinkedIn groups. So could we go to the next slide, please? Many professionals advance their goals by counting on professional groups, alumni organizations, and work groups to make vital connections. The best practice is to join at least 2 groups on LinkedIn. Choose one in the interest of the industry interest, and choose one location-based group. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to find groups. The navigation often changes on LinkedIn, so it's a little confusing for people who aren't in LinkedIn every single day. So in this case, you go on the top nav bar under interests, and that's where groups are found. So now you can search groups from the search bar. Next slide, please. So in this case, we searched computer software, and the results came back with 790 groups on LinkedIn that are around computer software. Next, let's go to the next slide. So in this case, we searched Chicago within the groups. And as you see, LinkedIn Chicago is the top group, but there's 6,268 results for location-based groups in Chicago alone. And university and other work groups. Next slide, please. So LinkedIn groups are social business communities, and we've always had communities that we work with from the beginning of time. So a community member could be a customer, could be a prospect, it could be an employee, a channel partner, supplier, donor, conference attendees, or even grassroots supporters. Next slide, please. So why join groups? Now I'm going to give you the secret sauce, but I want you to approach this carefully as far as connecting with people directly and, you know, using the courtesy that we talked about in the previous presentations. So when you belong to a group, it's a click on members, and say in this case we searched supply chain, we had 500 plus results of members within this particular group that have mentioned supply chain in their title. So you notice you can send a message to these people directly. So in this case, because this group has 90,000 plus members, you've just got 90,000 first degree connects. So that's pretty powerful. Next slide. So using groups on LinkedIn allows users to filter by specifics as well. You can search by location, by interest, by industry, by company size. And some of the filters, you get advanced filters with a paid for membership, or you can filter up to 8 different things, like industry within 5 miles of this location. You can contact professionals directly, just as you may access a first-degree connection. So your reach has been increased thousands and thousands of times over. Next slide. So here's some contact information for the LinkedIn Chicago group. Myself, I'd love to connect with all of you on LinkedIn. And I have 2 websites, the LinkedIn group and also a sister site that supports some additional features. So thank you for your time today, and it's back to Megan.
Thanks, Mary, and thank you to all of our panelists today. Now it looks like we do have a few moments for Q&A, so Cedric, we are ready for you. Cedric, are you there?
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to begin our question and answering session of the conference. If you would like to ask a question, please press star, then 1. You will be prompted to record your first and last name clearly to ask your question. To withdraw your question, you may press star, then 2. Once again, to ask your question, please press star, then 1. Record your first and last name. 1 moment for your first question.
And if you have only joined over your computer speakers and you're in our Smart Cloud, you can also share your questions in the Smart Cloud chat on the right-hand side.
Currently showing no questions in queue at this time.
All right, we'll give it another minute and see if there are any questions. And again, you can either answer, or so you can either ask questions on the chat or via phone. Looks like we have 2 questions in the chat, so we will start with those. And our panelists, anyone can answer these questions. The first is, do you have examples of invitations that work? And the second is, any advice on showcase pages? So we'll start with those two questions, and I'll throw those out to our panelists.
Sure. In terms of examples for invitations, I truly believe that it's important to always personalize. So if you can find any type of connection with that other person, so you might say things like, we're in the same industry, we share so many different, so many connections together, or we belong to these groups. That's always good ways of connecting through that invitation. In fact, if you visit my website, I do have actually a template, an ebook. It's full of templates that you can just copy and paste these invites and tons of things like that. So that's just an idea as well. I love the question about the advice on showcase pages. And I think it's necessary to note, anyone who's listening, that LinkedIn has changed their company pages. They've taken away the products and services. And so now you're going to be utilizing the showcase pages. And what that is it's a way of not just showcasing certain aspects of your company, but it's also a way of being able to send updates out under that showcase page, and it's going to be received by people who follow it. So if you think in terms of your company, not me, for me, I do resumes and LinkedIn profiles, but perhaps not everyone's interested in the resume part. So they would just subscribe to my LinkedIn profile, part of my company, and those are the updates that they'd be receiving. So my real advice is, make sure, don't create too many showcase pages because it would be very hard to manage. It would be hard to come up with all that content. So be very specific in those showcase pages that you create, and have fun with it. I think it's some good changes are coming down the line.
Perfect. So we have a few other questions that have come in, and we have two questions on the advantages or disadvantages of upgrading your LinkedIn profile.
I'm a huge advocate for upgrading. Absolutely, upgrade. Everyone should upgrade. There's a Personal Plus plan. It's only $7.95 a month. It's pretty hidden, but it is. You can access it. You just need to, when you chat with the LinkedIn salesperson, you just mention the Personal Plus program, or again, you can visit my website. I have the step-by-step directions on how to access it, but it's only $7.95 a month, and you get access to everyone who's ever checked out your profile. You get access to more search results. You get access to a profile organizer. It's amazing. It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, to mirror that, this is Mike Nagel. I've definitely used the upgraded version as well, and it lets you really take your professional investigating to another level, just making sure that you really are looking for the right person in the right way, and you have as much information at your disposal as needed.
Perfect. Let's see. Another question. Do you have a sample message that people can use when they're asking for a new connection? Or any recommended language around that?
Yeah, I stay away from canned messages. You receive so many canned messages, whether it's 3 sentences or 1 sentence. I like to customize every message that I send. It takes a lot more time to do it that way, but you see them accepting a lot better at a higher percentage or ratio, and then that'll lead to things a little bit faster is what I've seen, instead of just sending a generic 2-sentence, 3-sentence. Try to find something that is unique about that particular connection or how you're connected, like Donna mentioned a little bit earlier.
Great. With regard to following up with people via email, do you recommend including the original email that you sent them to kind of refresh their memory, or do you start fresh with the follow-up email?
I like to include all previous conversations if it's a positive conversation, just to kind of refresh their memory. People are so busy, these days, and sometimes they're looking at an email for 5 seconds and then deleting it. Just making sure that you refresh their memory is definitely a good idea and something that I do.
Okay. Are there any best practices for asking someone for a recommendation?
I believe that when you ask a person for a recommendation, you want to make sure that you're asking people who are, it's not so much what they say on LinkedIn, but it's who says it. So you really do want to make sure that you're asking VIPs, people who are, if not just lateral, but then above you. You want to ask clients, things like that. Don't just ask, people who report into you, because then it almost looks like you're coercing them. But when you do ask for a recommendation, you have to recognize that these people are busy. They don't have a lot of time. And so I always suggest write the recommendation for them and then state, feel free to edit or change completely. If that feels a little weird, and I know a lot of people do think it's weird, but ultimately that other person is going to love you for doing it for them. But if you do feel a little odd about doing that, at least then just include a few bullets of what you want to be recommended for. Give them an idea of what to say, because it's really, really hard when you get when you get that request. As the other person, you sit there and you're wondering what do they want me to say. So make it as easy for them as possible, and in that way, then you're going to find that you will get that recommendation in return.
Wonderful. So let's just do a quick check. I know we only have about 2 minutes left. So do we have any questions from the phone?
I'm showing currently no questions in queue.
Okay. So let's do one last question. I'll look here. Can you join groups as a company or only as an individual?
I've had companies that have joined my LinkedIn group. I'm not entirely sure how they do it or how they get into be approved, but I've been trying to get back to that and research how to go about doing that. But they are able to.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining today. I know we have a lot of other questions in the chat that we didn't get to, so we will be sending our presenters the list of questions, and we'll put the Q&A in the replay that we'll post on our site, supplier-connection.net. If you have any final questions to ask, you can send us a tweet. We're at SupplierCon. So thank you all so much for joining today, and we hope to see you again soon. Have a great afternoon.